So the whole world kind of stopped in late 2025 when the House Oversight Committee dropped that massive Epstein estate document trove. I mean, thousands of pages, so much noise, and then bam! Two emails directly mentioning Donald Trump in Epstein's own words. That's what got everybody buzzing.
I remember watching the news just explode with speculation. The fact that these are the only confirmed Epstein generated emails that call out Trump by name, that's wild. It felt like for once the fog was lifting, at least a little, on their connection.
Exactly. The fact that the emails were from two totally different years, 2011 and 2019, just added even more intrigue. People wanted to know what changed in that time and what do these emails really reveal.
And honestly, given how secretive everything around Epstein has always been, getting his words, no matter how cryptic, felt like a major plot twist. But to really get it, you have to back up and look at how Trump and Epstein even intersected in the first place.
Yeah, let's rewind a bit. In the 90 seconds, Trump and Epstein were very much moving in the same New York and Palm Beach elite circles. There are photos everywhere. Parties, galas, fundraisers, you name it, they both showed up.
Trump himself sort of cemented that in 2002 when he told New York Magazine Epstein was, quote, a lot of fun to be with. He even threw in that line about both of them liking beautiful women. That quote was everywhere for years.
It's almost eerie reading that now, knowing what came out later. But back then, Epstein's darker side wasn't public knowledge. To everyone else, he was just this mysterious wealthy guy on the party circuit.
It's always weird looking at those old photos with today's hindsight, almost like everyone's just pretending nothing's wrong. But then, as the early 2000s roll on, it seems like Trump and Epstein start drifting apart, or at least they're not seen together as much.
Yeah, that's what the public records suggest. By the early 2000s, you start seeing way fewer mentions of them together. There's no smoking gun fight or anything dramatic on record, though.
I always wondered if it was just drifting apart or if there was some major falling out behind closed doors. Trump later claimed he fell out with Epstein, but the timelines are fuzzy and there's no documented big blowup.
It's almost like the distance just grew quietly. Then, as Epstein's legal troubles ramp up around 2005, Trump's not implicated or targeted, but the backdrop gets way darker for everyone involved.
Which brings up a point. When Epstein was first being investigated, Trump actually cooperated. Palm Beach police said Trump let officers interview his Mar a Lago staff. That's something you don't hear mentioned much in all the speculation.
Once Epstein got arrested in 2008 and convicted, the record goes pretty much silent on any Trump-Epstein interaction. Trump later claimed Epstein was no longer welcome at Mar-a-Lago.
And then years later, Epstein pushes back on that, saying Trump's memory isn't exactly accurate. That's what makes the 2019 email so interesting. Epstein literally disputes the idea that he was tossed out or ever even a member.
That back and forth in public versus private statements is so telling. Sometimes it feels like two parallel universes, one in the media and one in these behind-the-scenes emails.
It's like there's the public story everyone's heard, and then there's this shadow narrative, with the truth always just out of reach because of how guarded and contradictory all the statements are.
So let's dig into the first email, the one from 2011 to Ghislaine Maxwell. The phrase Epstein uses, the dog that hasn't barked, really stuck with people. It's such an odd literary way to put things.
That phrase is straight out of a detective novel. It basically means someone you'd expect to speak up has stayed totally quiet. Epstein saying, in his view, Trump never spoke out against him or spilled any secrets, which is loaded with implication.
He even references a redacted victim who spent hours with Trump at Epstein's house. But because the victim's identity is hidden, we never get the whole story, just this mysterious puzzle piece.
That's what draws everyone in. There's so much unsaid. The email hints that Trump was present during questionable times, but never publicly commented or accused Epstein of anything. It leaves you with more questions than answers.
Yeah, Epstein never spells it out. Was Trump being loyal, strategic, or just staying out of trouble? The phrase never once been mentioned is vague but pointed. It could mean Trump kept quiet about Epstein, the victim, or the whole scene.
What really gets me is how Epstein seems almost impressed or maybe relieved that Trump didn't throw him under the bus. But we can't know whether that was calculated or just self preservation. The redactions just make it feel even more like a locked box.
Totally. And because the only context we have is Epstein's wording, everyone's left guessing. Even the email's tone, was it defensive, conspiratorial, or just factual? It's all lost in the gaps.
It kind of says something about how much these folks lived by unspoken codes. Silence could mean so many things in those circles: protection, complicity, or just fear of getting dragged down with someone else.
The second email, from 2019, really ups the drama. Epstein claims Trump knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. That's a bombshell sentence, but it's still maddeningly vague on details.
That line blew up instantly online, but the frustrating part, Epstein never says what Trump supposedly knew, how he knew it, or even who the girls refers to. It's all assertion, zero evidence.
Right. And the way Epstein writes, he asked Ghislaine to stop, hints that Trump confronted Maxwell about something. But again, we're left with just the fragments, no actual story to connect the dots.
It's almost like Epstein's lobbing a grenade as a last word, but the real impact is in what's missing. He doesn't share specifics, and that ambiguity keeps the speculation engine running full throttle.
Another part of that 2019 email that fuels the mystery is Epstein arguing Trump never asked him to resign because, as he says, never remember ever. He's basically saying Trump's story about kicking him out is made up.
The contradiction is wild. Trump tells the press one story. Epstein emails something totally different to a journalist. It makes you wonder how much of what we hear is crafted for public consumption, not reality.
It almost feels like each man is rewriting history in real time, Trump erasing Epstein from his orbit, Epstein refusing to play along. Neither narrative completely lines up, and that tension just adds to the fog.
Honestly, it's a bit like watching two authors fight over the same book, each trying to control the narrative, but neither giving us the whole truth. The emails become this weird, contested artifact of their rivalry.
What makes these emails even trickier to analyze is the sheer amount of redactions. The blacked-out names and entire lines basically scream, "There's more to this story, but you're not allowed to see it."
That's the part that drives so much speculation. Redactions could mean victim privacy, ongoing investigations, or stuff that's just not relevant, but to the outside world, every blank line looks like a smoking gun.
I know. And it's important to remember, just because someone's name is redacted doesn't mean they did something wrong. Sometimes it's just about legal protections or ongoing cases.
Still, every missing piece invites theories. It fuels that sense of conspiracy, but also serves as a reminder that we're only seeing a curated sliver of the full conversation filtered through layers of legal caution.
As soon as these emails dropped, the media went into overdrive. The phrasing "dog that hasn't barked" knew about the girls became instant headline fodder for everyone from the Washington Post to the BBC.
Yeah, and the press didn't just focus on Trump, though. He got most of the heat. They dug into every redacted name, speculated about the identity of the victim, and tried to piece together timelines that we'll probably never get answers to.
There was also this weird split. Some outlets treated the release like a political bombshell. Others dismissed it as old news or a distraction. The White House at the time called it politically motivated, which only amped up the division.
And meanwhile, journalists pointed out that Trump wasn't the only big name in the batch. He was just one of the few actually named in the unredacted sections. The appetite for drama was off the charts.
Stepping back, when you comb through all the publicly released documents, it's a pretty short list where Trump's name really shows up. The 2 Epstein emails, some old party photos, contact lists, but no flight logs connecting him to Epstein's infamous jet.
That's a misconception that keeps popping up. People think Trump flew on Epstein's jet, but there's no documentation of that in the released records. His name is in contact books and party calendars, but nothing linking him to the more notorious details.
It shows how easy it is for rumor to take hold when the real evidence is this limited. The actual emails are kind of like Rorschach tests people read into them, whatever fits their own theories.
Totally. And with no new bombshell emails about Trump in the 2025 release, the story's power is in these rare, ambiguous mentions, almost more compelling because of what we still don't know.
So, big picture, the emails show what Epstein believed about Trump, but they don't prove wrongdoing or lay out a clear narrative. It's Epstein's perspective, not a verdict on Trump.
That's the crucial thing. Epstein seems to suggest Trump knew more than he let on and maybe even confronted Maxwell, but none of that is corroborated. There's no evidence, just Epstein's own words, and those are famously slippery.
They also highlight how much of this entire story is shaped by silence, redaction, and half-told tales. The real significance is how the emails fuel speculation, not how they close the case.
In the end, these emails are more about the shadows cast by power, wealth, and secrets than about any singular provable fact. They raise questions, but the answers are still locked away, maybe forever.